Right, it's the end of August, or when you're watching this, it is now September. That is so depressing. It is now officially autumn, and it feels like autumn, and I'm sad about that. Right, so it's time for another audit. This is the August audit. Let's go through my outgoings first. Nothing has really changed. My council tax is still £110 per month. My gas and electric is still a direct debit of £40 per month. And this month, my gas and electric actual bill was, let me just find it on my spreadsheets because I don't feel very organised today. My actual bill was £38.63, and that is in part because we're still on a dip in the costs. That's going to change in October. It's going to go back up again in October, but I hear it's going to go up about 2%. But also, I was away for part of the last bill rota. So I read my meters on the 11th, and I was away for 3 weeks of that. So that's depressing because that means that my bill's only gone down about £4, and I was away for 3 weeks of that bill cycle, which is really depressing. There are things still running when I'm away. My fridge and my freezers are still running. I put a light on timer, but everything else is off, and it's still costing me £38. Anyway, so that is going to have to change next month because looking at my spreadsheets, I can see that the amount of money that I have banked up to pay my bills, I've been paying £40 a month for quite a while now. It's interesting. Let's have a look at when I last put up my direct debit. My direct debit last went up in January 2024. Before, it's £40 now, it was £35.93, and then generally I put them up. They've never asked me to put them up. They will if it gets really close, but generally I get in there first because I've got my spreadsheet and I know what's going in, what's going out. I know what the balance of my account is. So at the moment I have a balance of just £45.18. And that's not going to get me through winter. So next month I'm going to ask them, I'm going to let my next bill rota go through, which they'll take the direct debit on the 6th of September, and then I'm going to ask them going forward to put my direct debit up to £50 per month, because, or I'm not going to get through winter without ending up with a deficit on my account. Depressing. It still keeps going up. I keep hoping that they're going to change the way the standing charges work, and I made a video about that not so long ago, which I will put somewhere up here so you can go and have a look at that, talking about how if you're a low user, the system's rigged against you. You'll always end up paying too much because most of your spending is probably on fixed standing charges which you can't change. But they're talking about changing it for this winter. Ofgem has said they're going to change the way the system works so that low users have different options to pay, which, I mean, you hope it's going to lower your usage, but until it comes into play, who knows. Anyway, so that's that. My car service package is, as usual, £26.93. That banks up the money with the car, with the dealership, so to speak, that my car gets its service and MOT with every year. That means when I take it in for its service and MOT, unless there's something drastically wrong that's out of plan, I come out not spending any money, and that's nice because it banks it away. It's one less thing I have to worry about, and you get discounts on certain parts and things like that if you use it, which always helps. So my car this year has been, I think, the second cheapest it's been since 2019 to run, and in terms of that's maintenance, that's everything, so I'm happy with that. Rent is still 675. I still haven't heard what my renewal's going to be. Dreading it. Still, you know, sitting on the edge of my seat waiting for it to come through. Any day now it'll come through. It's any day now. And we'll see what happens when that comes through. My water rates have gone down a bit. So what was I paying before? I was paying £18 and a penny. I'm now paying £17.58 for August, and then to even it out based on my last meter readings, it'll drop to £17.56. So it's £17.58 this month, which is, I don't know, almost 50p lower than last month. Joy. My phone, I have an unlimited plan with Smarty that I took out back in, I think, 2019, and it was fixed for life, so it never changes. So I pay £18.75 a month for, you get the usual free texts, free whatever, and unlimited data because I don't have broadband at home. So half of it goes to my business and half of it goes to personal because I use the same phone for everything. So £9.37 is my personal cost on my phone. I've spent more money than usual on petrol this month, £69.24. That is because on the 11th of August I came back from my parents. That's a 254-mile round trip. And then just last Friday, so a few days ago, I went over to see my best friend who lives over the hills and far away, and that's a 3-hour round trip for me. So I had half a tank in the car, but I wanted to fill up just in case something happens and you end up having to take a massive divert route. And in fact, coming back, there were 2 road closures when I came back and I had to take a longer route back. And if I know that the car is full of petrol, that's one less thing I have to worry about if something happens. So I filled up anyway. It gets used anyway, you know. Most of my journeys around town are very, very small. So if I don't do any long journeys, a tank will easily last me 3 months. So whatever I've overspent on this month means that in future months I will not be spending as much. My everything else category was a bit high considering I haven't had any dentist appointments. It was £51.14, and that is because my mum's 80th birthday is towards the end of September, and I wanted to get her something different. So I bought her something, which I think I've mentioned in one of my day-to-day vlogs, but it means I've spent a lot more money than usual. That isn't everything. I've bought the present. I also need to sort out the cake and other little bits and pieces. I'm not going mad, but it's an 80th, you know, and it's nice to do something nice. So there's that, and then next month will probably be a bit high as well. My food bill this month only came to £22.67, and again, that's because I was away for the first 11 days, so I wasn't eating any of the food that I had in the cupboards and the fridge freezer. And then I buy it on discount. So if you watch my day in the life videos, when I do a yellow sticker shop, which is the only way I shop now for discounts, that's how I buy all my food, is on discounts now. You can see how that happens, so go and take a look at those. My last one and the one that's going to be coming up soon has all that on there as well. And fees with Ko-fi, that's the donation site for creators, 78p in fees. So that means that my total outgoings are £1,022.03, which is slightly lower than usual, but offset by what's coming next, which is my income. So let's do income. Income has not been great in August, again because I was away for the first 11 days. I am self-employed. If I don't work, I don't get paid. It's as simple as that. So when I go away, that means I can't do any of the cleaning jobs that I do. It means that I have to stop selling on my website. People can buy, but I can't ship. So people tend, and I always put an out of office on, so people don't buy because they're going to have to wait 3 weeks or 2 weeks, depending on what it is. So income has definitely been down this month. But while I'm away, it means that I get to focus on other things, so I get to do more in terms of things like surveys, because I'm kind of more of a captive audience. So let's see what we've got. What we have here is I've had £15 in donations from coffee, so thank you to you, you know who you are. I've made £69.10 through my business, now demoted to hobby stroke side hustle because of the small amount of money it makes. I've been really busy making new things while I was away. I took loads of crafting stuff because my parents were away on holiday for 2 weeks of the 3 weeks I was there. So I spread out and I set up a little workshop and I took loads of stuff and I made loads of stuff to boost my store, so that in the lead up to the end of the year and to Christmas and things, hopefully I will get a bunch of sales. £69.10 is a mixture of Vinted and stuff that I've sold through the website. So there is that. Interest is slightly higher than usual this month as well, £136.04, and that's because I had an Ulster Easy Access savings account, which I don't use anymore. I got it a year ago, and it had a really good interest rate at the time. It was variable, but it was easy access, so I was using it in the same way that I'm now using the Trading 212 cash ISA that I use. So all my spare money, which was there to back up in case income was down or I had an unexpected cost, all goes in there and it accrues interest. The difference with the Ulster one is that it's an account that only pays out the interest once a year, and it's supposed to pay it out, as far as I understood, on the 1 year anniversary of the account. And it got to the 1 year anniversary of the account and nothing happened. So I contacted them, and it turns out that it doesn't. It's at account closure or in January, which makes no sense. So I've closed the account and I got the interest from that. On top of that interest, there are a few little bits. I've got a Zopa regular saver. I have my Trading 212 cash ISA now, so it's all accrued into that. That's £136.04. Cleaning work was really bad this month, and again, because I was away for 11 days, that's a good chunk of my money gone. So I only made £280.80. There were other reasons why, however, that money is down. One is that the new client that I had that I thought was a bit of a time waster absolutely has turned out to be a time waster and has basically stopped asking me to clean. She didn't say that, she just said, oh, I'll let you know. And I knew she wasn't going to come back to me, and I haven't heard from her for 3 weeks. So that one's now gone. That was my good little replacement job that was nice and local. It was a private job, and that would have been a good one if it had worked out. I had a feeling it wasn't going to. In addition to that, my other 2 cleaning jobs for the business, there's 2 separate businesses, and in the last week, the administrator for one of the businesses has gone on holiday. And when the administrator's gone on holiday, I don't get paid. All my invoices sit there. So I have 2 outstanding invoices now with them, which one of which I would have got in August, so that would have appeared on this sheet, and then the other one would have been paid right at the beginning of next week. She is back on Monday, so hopefully those will be processed quite quickly. And then the other business, I don't know if it's the same issue. I didn't have an out of office notification, but last week's cleaning job, they just never bothered to pay. And sometimes this happens where they just don't pay. So I've put in my invoice for this weekend, and I've added a note to say that the last week's remains unpaid, and I've re-added the invoice. So, you know, it's money that I should have had this month but haven't, and that will all now be rolled over to next month. So next month will look like a really good month, even though it isn't. One of the businesses has asked for me to go in and have a chat with them about increasing my hours. I don't know how they want to do this. I don't know if they want to do it as a private client or do it through the agency. I have a feeling they're trying to circumnavigate the system, which is fine so long as I'm getting some of the benefit of that. So we'll see what they say on Tuesday when I'm meeting them. Next, YouTube. YouTube is the lowest I've had this year. Now, YouTube pays in arrears, so the money that I'm getting from YouTube isn't the money from the month that's just gone, it's the month before. It accrues to the end of the month, and then they pay on the 24th of the next month. That has been my worst month, and I knew it would be. And some people were saying it's because you're not answering your comments. So I've started to do the whole comments thing. I've put a schedule in my calendar to make sure that at least a couple of times a week I'm going in and going through my comments. And as a result of that, next month's payment looks significantly better. So, you know, maybe that's YouTube wants to see that kind of interaction. I don't know that it's to do with people watching. I think it's a YouTube thing, is that they, you know, if you want your money, you have to put in the extra work. So I think that's making a difference. Surveys, I've had quite a good month on surveys this month. £140.90. I also sold £6.50 worth on Vinted. However, that should be but that was part of my business stroke side hustle, so that doesn't count as extra, I don't think. I need to double check that. Yeah, so that calculation is actually wrong. So my business income was actually £74.10, and it's £1.50 in the Vinted, which is personal sales. They're not classed as business because it's me selling stuff out my own wardrobe. So that's where I went wrong on that one. Not to worry about that. eBay, nothing on eBay this month. And then I had £200 cash from my parents when I was last down. For some reason they feel obliged to give me money when I go down. It doesn't always happen. And my dad says it's because, well, they're always helping my brother out with things that they can't afford. So they give me some as well. I don't ask for it. I've never asked for it, but it goes straight into the savings anyway. So that's the income, and the total on that comes to £909.65, and that's basically bad because my total outgoings are more than my income, and that is why I always keep a chunk of savings to hand in that instant access trading 212 cash ISA, because I can move money over and cover differences really easily, which stops me having to go into debt or whatever. Now, I've had some other changes this month. So 2 months ago, when I get credit cards, I always get them through my credit score app, which is ClearScore, and I only take out the pre-approved ones. If I just applied for a credit card as a normal customer, I would fail all the checks. They never ever give me cards. But through ClearScore, they offer you ones that give you a percentage chance of you getting the card, but it does regularly offer me pre-approved, which means you absolutely got this card. It doesn't always tell you how much you're going to get on that card, and I always only ever take out the ones that are 0% interest for a set period. So I've done this for a long time, and I use the card to my advantage for that period of time, so that instead of the money coming out of my income and out of my cash ISA savings, it goes onto that card and doesn't get spent in that time, and that means that I can accrue more interest on the money that would have been spent. So I use my credit cards that have 0% up to the limit, whatever it is, and I use it for day-to-day shopping. I don't use it as a splurge. I use it to buy food, petrol, pay bills, things like that. Now, in terms of paying bills, there are only certain things you can pay for on a credit card. So most of my bills are still direct debits coming out of my regular account, because you can't put direct debits onto a credit card. So the last card I took out was a couple of months ago with a company called Zabel, and it's I think it was only a 500 limit, and I think it was 9 months, but it works slightly differently to most other cards. So usually you'll get your card, you'll start using it, and then you'll have to pay a minimum payment every month, but it starts really low. It usually starts at a £5. This one wouldn't even let you unlock the card to start spending until you had set up the direct debit. I've never had to set up a direct debit before with a credit card, and it was £20. So I've used that for a couple of months because it was then my only card that I had that wasn't, that was still, you know, it was the new card that I got. It was 0% interest. So I used it for a couple of months, but I wasn't happy about it. And then ClearScore offered me another credit card, pre-approved, and it was a surprising one. It was Barclaycard. I haven't had a Barclays account in ages, and I never get anything with Barclays because they don't like me. I don't have a good enough credit score. But they had a pre-approved for 0% interest on spending for 2 years. And I didn't know what credit limit they were going to give me. You don't know until you apply. So I applied, and because it's pre-approved, although they did a hard check on me on the credit score app, doesn't matter, you only lose a few points, I'm guaranteed to get the card. It just depends on how much they want to give you. So I applied for the card, got the card, and they've given me a limit of just under £3,000 for 2 years. Now, obviously, I will have to pay minimum balance, so that'll start at a £5, which I'll start paying in September. And I am just using it for regular day-to-day spending, so petrol, dentist appointments, food bills, and because I've got it for 2 years, I'll be able to put quite a lot of my insurances and things for the next couple of years on that, and I'll just spend up to the limit, and then at some point another pre-approved card will come up. And in the background of that, I've got other cards that are still within their 0% term, which I am paying off. And the reason I do this is purely because if the money is being taken out of a 0% credit card, it means it's not coming out of my actual cash savings and my income, which means that I can stash all that money back into the cash ISA, earn interest on it, rather than actually paying those companies the actual money, and it's coming out of the credit card. So that means I get to earn a bit more interest on it. So that's quite handy. Also, the elderly couple that I clean for, I do a shop for them once or twice a week, and I will use that Barclaycard to buy their shopping. I then give them the receipt. They give me the cash because obviously I've shopped for them. That cash I then put into the cash ISA, and that will also earn interest for a couple of years before I have to pay it back. So I'm trying to maximise my interest at a time when there aren't many good accounts, and this cash ISA is the instant access that I always keep on hand. I have other money in fixed rate accounts. I have money in regular savers, so they're earning higher rates but at a slower amount. So there's little bits of interest waiting to come out. I think I have 3 accounts, 3 small regular savers coming out in September. They won't generate a huge amount, but they're also a bit short term. I've got one coming out later in the year, and then a couple next year. So the cash ISA is really valuable for just maximising the interest that I can get on instant access, because the rates aren't very good at the moment. The other thing that happened with the Barclaycard is that almost as soon as I got it, I had a reminder from Smarty, who is my phone provider, that the card they use to take my money each month is about to expire. Now, I use my Lloyds account for that, and it's not set up as a direct debit. You put a card in. So I've been able to put my Barclaycard in as my payment for my phone. So that means for the next 2 years, my phone will come out of my credit card rather than my debit card, and that means I've maximised hanging on to that money each month as well, and that's £18.75 a month. So I'm just trying to maximise hanging on to as much money as possible. And then when I've got a credit card with a 0% term that's coming up to the end of its 0% term, I just take the money out of the Cash ISA, pay the whole thing off in one go, and that card is done. I keep a hold of all my credit cards that I have paid off, and I keep them there as an emergency stash. I never use them because at that point they become, I have to pay them off every month or accrue interest. So they're only there for emergencies, but I'm accruing quite a stack of credit cards with full credit limits, which if something happens and in an emergency, let's say something happens, I need £2,000 and I just need to grab £2,000. I've got credit cards on hand that I can use for that. It might be across several credit cards, but it's instant money that I can use, and then I can deal with paying that back off afterwards. So there's always emergency funds available as and when required. So that is my update for August. I think I've remembered everything. We had an interest rate drop in August, which was not fun. I can't even remember what it went down with. Interest rates cut to 4%, which, I mean, it's supposed to be better for spending, but I don't think anyone's noted the difference except in their savings. So I'm just making what I can out of what I've got. My income is still looking not great for this year compared to last year. I have that client to talk to next week, so hopefully that will improve things a little bit. I was going to start looking, well, I have been looking for another cleaning job to replace the one that I've just lost. I'll see what they say on Tuesday. That may well be enough to tip the balance. If they want me to do extra hours, and let's say it's a couple of hours a week, that's more than I would have got from the other job, which was going to be 2 hours or 3 hours every 2 or 3 weeks. So I'll see what they say. So things have a habit of working their way out. I'd rather do extra hours for those two businesses or for that business than pick up a new job, because that business is incredibly convenient and I've been there for 2 years now, so I know how it works. But we'll see what they say. Who knows? I will probably report back on that somewhere in the next week in the life video. So do subscribe to my videos if you want to find out what happens with that. I will report on it back in September's audit, which will come out at the beginning of October. And that's it for now. I think I'm up to date. It wasn't very organised this month for some reason. I've not been very focused on the money side of things. So I've been recrunching some of the numbers while I've literally been recording this. So I've had to change a couple of things. You may have noticed a couple of numbers change. Anyway, so there we are. That's that. That's the update. Thank you for watching this August update. I hope it's helped you. Maybe it's given you some ideas for how you can save money. Maybe it's given you some ideas on how you can maximise interest on any cash savings you've got. I highly recommend the Trading 212 Cash ISA as an instant, easy access account. You need to have the app, so you need a smartphone. But, you know, if I need money out, I'll put into withdraw and it's there within about a minute. It's so fast and it's easy. I'm putting money in and out of it all the time. And it's not an enormous amount of money, but it's better than it sitting somewhere else that's earning even less. I'm just doing what I can. So it's a really, really great cash ISA. And yeah, that's the lot. That's that. That's the end of this video. So thank you for watching, and speak to you again soon. Do add your comments, any questions, anything you're not sure about, and I'll get back to you. Thank you for watching. Bye.